Hi guys, today we're going to be talking about the upcoming release from Nomad Cosmetics. Now, I did get this sent in PR. I'm excited to show you these because I think these are super cute. So they have come out with 3 more of their little travel palettes, and they did do a palette like this earlier this year together with a collection that came with some other things, but this collection is only palettes. So we have 3 new 6-pan mini palettes, and these are all based on different airports around the world, and I think that's a really cool idea. And I'm also excited because one of them is from Oslo, and I was born and raised in Norway. I've been to Oslo airport many times, and I just feel like this palette kind of has a bit more of a special place in my heart than, you know, these other palettes, because I feel very connected to this one. And I think what I'm gonna do for today's video is I'm gonna show you the 2 looks that I've done with the palettes that I've played with so far, and then we'll do a look on camera after. But first I want to show you the palettes and show you the swatches, show you the looks. This collection is launching on May 21st, and it's going to be at 12:01 a.m. EST. I'll have all the information down below in my description box. I do also have an affiliated code with Nomad. It's just Annette, and it will save you some money if you're interested in picking anything up. But yeah, I think this is really cool, honestly. I think that they did a really good job with these being very user-friendly palettes, and I think that because of the fact that they are meant to be travel palettes, travel-inspired palettes, the color stories are such that you could actually take one of these when you go traveling, because they are standalone palettes that are very easy to use, that you can get very simple looks out of. You're not going to be able to do anything like super fancy with these, but that's also not the point. And I think that because of that, I think the color stories make sense. If other brands had come out with like sort of the same color stories, maybe I'd be like, you know what, it's kind of boring. But I think because these are almost designed to be travel palettes because of the inspiration behind them, and it all just sort of makes sense, right? So like, I don't know, I think the fact that they are monochromatic palettes and they are small palettes and they are very easy to use because of the color stories, it makes sense. So I've had fun with these. I think that they are really good quality so far. I haven't had any, you know, issues with any of them. The wear time has been really good. The only thing I will say is I feel like the metallics in these palettes are maybe not as special as some of the metallics that have come out in their recent palettes. And again, I'm sure that's by design. I'm sure that was very intentional, in that you just want formulas that are easy to use when, you know, if you're out traveling or whatever. Like, these are very easy shadows to use. They wear well. And I think that they meant to put these in here for a reason. And going back to the Oslo airport one, I think that honestly, the design of the palette and the colors of the palette is very representative of the actual airport and like the city itself in a lot of ways. Like I said, I have been there, and I feel like the architectural design outside of the palette is very much like inspired by some of the decor and stuff that is inside of the airport, and I feel like it makes sense. I have not been to the other airports here, Abu Dhabi and the Canadian Rockies. I don't know what they look like at all, so I can't tell you if like the actual palettes are similar to, you know, the airports themselves or the city, because I haven't been there. But I do really like the Oslo one, and that is definitely one that I'll be keeping in my collection forever. So with all that being said, and I've shown you the looks, and I'm excited to dig into this one. So that is what we're gonna go ahead and do. We're gonna play with the Canadian Rockies. It says YXC. I'm guessing that is the, what am I trying to say? You know how every airport has like 3 letters that represent like whatever the airport is called? I feel like that is that with this one. I don't know what it stands for. So I'm just starting by priming with my Natasha Denona eyeshadow base, like I did with the other 2 looks, which you did not see because I didn't show you that, but now you know. And I wanted to save sort of the more exciting color story for last, because the other 2 looks were obviously very simple and definitely on the neutral side. And I feel like this is the most, you know, colorful palette. So I thought it could be fun to do like a bit of a longer, you know, talk through look with this one. And I'm thinking, but still sort of keeping it pretty simple, because again, keeping to the theme of the, you know, whole travel, and you know, when you're traveling, you want to keep your looks pretty simple and not have that take up too much of your day. At least I know for myself, like if I'm out traveling, I don't want to spend 2 hours doing my makeup in the morning, because I'd rather be out experiencing wherever I'm at. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do maybe these 2 in my crease, and then play with the shimmers on my lid. I don't know if I'm gonna use this one, even if it's like my favorite shade in this palette. I'm just not sure how I would incorporate that with the shimmers. I feel like for myself, these two shimmers are both darker than this shade. And I would want maybe, I kind of wish that this shade was like an iridescent green, iridescent teal. Like I think that would have made more sense for me in the way that I like to do my makeup, because I don't really use these very light mattes. So for me, I would have rather it be a shimmer, but that's like a personal preference thing, obviously. Like that has nothing to do with anything else other than me knowing what I like. So I think for that reason, I'm not going to use this shade in this look. I really want to use the shade though, but I would probably want to pull in some other palette to use this shade with, just because of, like I said, the way that I like to do my makeup. So instead I'm going to use this one and this one. I'm going to start with this as my transition shade. And this one is called Brave the Bears, which I would not brave the bears. I'm scared of bears. I do not want anything to do with them. Keep them far away from me, please. So I'm just gonna do, like I said, a simple look with this as my transition shade. I feel like if you're someone who has an olive undertone, this palette might be like your perfect sort of neutral palette. I don't know, let me know, because I know some people who do have a more olive undertone, these kind of shades tend to almost pull neutral. So I think that if you're one of those people, this might be a really, really good palette for you. Obviously, I mean, it's gonna show up like pretty true to pan, because I think I have a pretty neutral undertone to my skin, even though my eyeshadow primer does lean a little bit on the pink side from what I've noticed. You can't really tell when I put it on. It very much looks like my skin tone, but when I use, say, something like a red shadow on top of this eyeshadow primer, sometimes it will lean a little bit pink. So that makes me feel like the undertone of the primer is on the pink side, but like I said, I do think I have a pretty neutral undertone, and that's why I feel like most colors look pretty good on me, and I can sort of swing both, you know, cool and warm tone and still feel like myself. This is a very, very easy shade to work with. It blends out very nicely, and I think it's gonna work nicely as a transition shade to the darker shade as well. So I'm gonna grab the darker green here, and I'm just gonna use that. This is called Take a Hike as the outer corner slash deepening slash maybe under eye shade. We'll see once I put this on, like how far in and out I want to go with this shade, but that's a really, really pretty green, and honestly I feel like it's a little bit darker almost on the eyes than what I was expecting, and I really like this. I love these two colors together. I think they work very nicely, even though the undertones of them are quite different in a way. It's, at least when you look at them in the pan, is one thing I've realized with these palettes, is that like I will look at shades and be like, I don't know if those are necessarily going to go together, but then trying them together, they work really well. So I really like these two together, actually. I think they look very, very nice. They complement each other so beautifully. I think if you're someone who likes very curated, easy, simple color stories, and you like small, more monochromatic palettes, I think you would really like these. Do I think that you need all three of them? I don't know. It's gonna depend on your preferences and how much of a collector you are. Like if you really want to start collecting these small palettes from Nomad, these are not limited edition. If you were wondering, then maybe you want to pick up all three, but I think just pick the color story maybe that you like the most, that you think you would get the most use out of, and pick up one of them. Unless, of course, like I said, you are someone who likes to have the full collection of stuff, then I totally get it if you want to get all three, because they are really, really cute together. And I think all the color stories are obviously different enough that if you do end up picking up all three, you're definitely not going to have any repeats. Let's see. Do I want to use some of that teal underneath my eye? I wasn't really planning on going in that direction, but yeah, I'm not really feeling it. I don't know what it is. Like, maybe I'm just not in the mood for that shade today. Maybe that's what it is. So I'm just going to grab some more of this shade and use it underneath my eye as well. I'm just going to use it basically to connect the outer corner here. I think I did the same shape with the two other looks as well. I mean, sorry, not sorry, but I just really want to test out these palettes for what they are. And I feel like the best way to do that is to do a very basic eyeshadow look that is like the shape that I would normally do when I do my eyeshadows, and especially when I'm not filming as well. Like if I just want to do my eyeshadows, I tend to always go for this shape because I know it works for me. I know I can get it done very quickly, and I know I can use, you know, a couple of shades and still play with color, but have it be something that's very reliable and I know it's gonna look good on my eyes, and it's just gonna be a matter of like, okay, how do I want to, you know, match my makeup with my clothing or whatever. Like, it's pretty much a no-brainer when it comes to actually doing my makeup, because I know it's gonna be simple and look good, but it's still a way for me to be able to play with color and like maybe test out new formulas or just use stuff that I haven't used in a while, but still just know it's gonna be quick and look good. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use, do I wanna use both of these? I am definitely gonna have to bring in something a little bit lighter because I do want to have some lightness on the front portion of my lid, because that's just how I like to do my makeup. I'm thinking probably just the green is gonna look better. Yeah, I think I just wanna, I'm not really feeling blue today. I just wanna go all green. So I'm just gonna use the green shade, and I've used these formulas both with spraying my brush and a glitter primer so far, and they work really well both ways. I am gonna put on some glitter primer with this look though, just because, I don't know, it's a habit at this point. And I also just find that shadows just apply a little bit better and easier when I do have a sticky base down. So I am putting the glitter primer all over my lid because, like I said, I am gonna use something lighter in the front portion, but I'll probably just use my Noctilucent palette and use a highlighter from that one. So I'm gonna take the sticky side of my brush here and dip that into the shadow, because I always feel like shadows just pick up a little bit better when I do it that way. Not that these don't pick up otherwise, but you just get a little bit more on your brush, and I just feel like I get a better application this way. And it's almost like using your finger. Like, if you like using your finger with eyeshadow, this kind of does the same thing, but I sometimes feel like, depending on the formula, this formula wouldn't do this, but I feel like with some formulas, if I use my finger, I get a lot of fallout. These are very smooth, so you could definitely use your finger with these, but in general, I prefer using a brush. And so I think for my inner corner, I'm gonna grab the shade, which is the green shade in the Noctilucent palette. I don't think I'm gonna spray this or anything. I'm gonna not go too crazy, but I am gonna put some of that in the front portion where I don't have any shadow yet, because I just find it much more flattering on my eye shape when I have something that is lighter in the front portion. Just because of my eye shape, I just think it looks a little bit better. Yeah, like that is exactly what I needed from this look, and I think that this just makes it all come together and make sense for like how I like to do my makeup. So I'm just gonna go ahead and finish off with this. I'm not gonna do anything crazy with this. I'll probably just do some teal in my waterline, put on some liner and lashes, and that's gonna be it. The look is completed, and I think just before I went off camera, I said I was gonna do teal in my waterline, and then I thought about that and I was like, why did I say that? Obviously I meant turquoise, because teal wouldn't even go with this look. I mean, maybe it would, but it certainly was not on my mind when I said that. Anyway, this is the completed look. I think it turned out so pretty. Like, I really like this, and I think that, like I said, everything has performed really well so far. I think that these palettes are super, super cute, and I think that if you're interested in this launch, I don't think you would be disappointed. And if you're sort of like me and you wish that there were lighter shimmers in some of these palettes, like, just pull in a highlighter. You'll be totally fine. Like, I think that for me, sometimes I get a little bit too stuck up on the fact that I want something that I'm reviewing to be a standalone palette, and like, it really doesn't have to. It's not that big of a deal. Like, I can pull in things and still feel like I reviewed something, and I don't need to use a palette on its own in order to review it. And it's something that I have to like keep reminding myself of, because not every palette is going to be perfect for everybody, and like, that doesn't mean that I can't make it my own and still give you my opinion on the palette. So those are going to be my thoughts. I think these are just really fun, and I honestly hope that they come out with more of these, because I've been enjoying them, and I think that it's fun to see where they take their inspiration from, because these seem very random. And like, I don't know how these were picked, but I think it's cool that they're literally from like all over the world, and that just makes it, you know, more interesting when they're doing their whole guess the destination thing on Instagram too, which I never get right, so I don't even bother guessing, but some of you guys are really good at that. So yeah, that's gonna be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see some more Nomad content, I do have a playlist. I'll put that on the screen, and if you're new, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.